Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Triangle Offense. I'm Monish. As always, I'm joined by Nishant. On today's episode, we'll skip to our stepbrother Eastern Conference and we'll talk about a team that's actually been ignored for most part of the season, even though they sit third in the table, the Milwaukee Bucks. My first question to you: are we discounting them out too early, just because of their previous two seasons wherein they lost and crashed and burned in the playoffs? And I think that's a little unfair because the year before, where Kawhi Leonard kicked them out, they were leading 2-0. And I think, looking at the highlights recently of the third game, they could have gone 3-0 up and they could have won the game. And they could have won the series. And that would have been a totally different narrative today.
Yeah.
Last season was a weird season. It was a bubble. So you could give them that excuse. Plus, Giannis was injured. So are we being a little too harsh on them by just saying, oh, we've all seen the story too often and we know how Milwaukee plays in the playoffs, and just discounting them? Because they've been on an incredible run. They're just coming off a clean sweep of the Brooklyn Nets, 2 games back to back, beat them both convincingly, I must say.
Yeah.
Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving playing decent minutes, 35 plus minutes in both these games, and still ending up on the losing side. So are we being too harsh on the Milwaukee Bucks?
No. I think we're being harsh to an extent in saying we've seen this movie before, but we have seen this movie before. It would be harsh if they go into the playoffs, they win the first round, and we're still saying, yeah, whatever, they'll crash out, regardless of how well they play or who's turning up. That would be harsh. But I don't think people are writing Milwaukee off so much as they're saying the Brooklyn Nets are a sure thing. That's what's changed from last season. If this was the same Eastern Conference as last season, minus the Brooklyn Nets adding KD, Kyrie, and James Harden, okay. And then somebody says, no, Milwaukee have no chance, that would be writing them off. I think this is more of a case of people just saying the Brooklyn Nets are too much and that they don't think the Bucks can take them. That's a fair stance to take. And this 2-game win doesn't prove anything either, because yes, they beat the Nets back to back. Yes, major minutes from their 2 superstars, but the Nets are the Nets and their favorites because of 3 superstars, not 2. One of them was out. Arguably their best player so far this season was out. There was no James Harden, and that's key really, because when we're writing off or supposedly writing off the Bucks, what we're saying is we've seen them choke in the playoffs before, and we don't see them overcoming the Brooklyn Nets. Now, if I write them off against the 76ers, that would be premature, because that team hasn't done worked miracles in a while either. They have their own fair share of injuries and coming up short. One team chokes, the other team gets injured all the time. Either way, both teams kind of under-deliver on expectations. So I think it has more to do with Brooklyn Nets than the Milwaukee Bucks. But I am intrigued by what I see from the Bucks. I think this is the best chance they've had ever, at least since acquiring Giannis. They were last this good maybe when they had Kareem in the team. That's about it.
Oh my god. Okay.
Yeah.
The Milwaukee Bucks are 5-1 against the Sixers and the Nets this season. So out of 6 games, they've just lost one, that to the Brooklyn Nets, and Drew Holiday didn't play that game.
Yeah.
Now we saw them torch the Brooklyn Nets in the last 2 games because Giannis was playing like Giannis, and we all know the problem with Brooklyn Nets was that the defense was not that great, and it would be difficult for them to keep scoring at the rate. The only way that they could win is keep scoring better than what their opponents are scoring, right? And with Giannis playing like this, there's no way you can stop him. James Harden comes in, he's not a defender, so he's not going to stop Giannis. So Giannis is going to keep getting 40 points and 15 rebounds and 6-7 assists as usual. What is the problem with Giannis last season? He didn't have a jumper. He was missing free throws, and I think that was the biggest pain because teams knew that they could foul him and then get away with it with a 50-60% shooting rate. They knew that they could restrict him. He's shooting better free throws this year. He got 12 free throws the other day against the Brooklyn Nets in the second game, and he scored 10 of them, which is pretty great. 48 points in the first game. He and KD had a duel between themselves. Giannis came out the winner in that one. Very rarely do you see KD lose any battles, so Giannis came out the winner in that one. He's improved his free throw shooting percentage. His 3 percentage has gone up. Not that I'm depending too much on that. His blocks have gone up. His rebounds have gone up. His assists have gone up. His steals have gone up. So everything except his points per game has gone up. And I don't think the points per game matters so much to Giannis because Milwaukee Bucks are a better scoring unit now. And I think the points per game being lesser, in fact, is better for the Milwaukee Bucks.
Yeah.
So I think they're a much stronger team than they were last season. They are a much experienced and much stronger team than they were the year before as well. And I really think they can take the Brooklyn Nets on if even if James Harden is back. Yes, that will elevate the Brooklyn Nets scoring. But how fit is James Harden going to be? He's missed like 25% of the season now, and he's not played, and the playoffs are approaching in 10 days. He's nowhere to be seen.
Yeah.
So I think the Brooklyn Nets might get shorthanded if they face the Bucks. Philadelphia, well, that's going to be a tough battle, but I think Giannis definitely, and along with Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton together, I think they can take on the Philadelphia 76ers. As seen this season as well, they're 3-0 against the Sixers this season. What do you think?
Yeah, I think they can take the Sixers. I think that'll be an intriguing battle. But you'd hate to see either team miss anyone through injury. That'll be a hell of a series. But I think it'll be a fair fight, and both teams have a good chance. 50-50 even, but I can see the Bucks beating. Like, it wouldn't be an upset if they beat the 76ers. It wouldn't be like, where did that come from? But I think in the East, every conversation is going to be who can topple the Brooklyn Nets. So let's look at that matchup. One of the things that let's talk about the Bucks a little bit, right? One of the things that they were criticized for a lot last season, and people are calling for Budenholzer's head because he had no plan B. There was like zero adjustments, no adaptation, no on-the-fly moves, none of that fairy tale stuff. They had no plan B. And everyone else who came to play the Bucks came with the plan A, stop Giannis.
Yep.
Okay, where's your plan B? And that holds true for both Giannis and the coach. As Giannis as a player, where's your 2 years now? People have just put brick walls in the paint and cut off your driving lanes. Where's your plan B? And as the coach, when you know everyone's going to go at your superstar, where's your plan B? Plan B doesn't necessarily have to be, don't go through Giannis anymore, focus on scoring elsewhere. No, but how do you get Giannis into better positions? So what I really liked about the Bucks at the start of the season was that Budenholzer was experimenting a lot. Like the early stage Bucks this season, you saw them run a lot of plays and go through extended spells where Giannis wasn't the focal point of the attack.
Yep.
They integrated Drew Holiday very well. Chris Middleton got off to a great, as he does in most seasons, got off to a good start. DiVincenzo had a pretty much a career year so far, the season he's had. So I think that part was a job well done, and they're well set up now coming into the playoffs. Now, just the matchup, Brooklyn Nets against the Bucks. Here are some key learnings or takeaways, right, from these recent encounters and also from what we know about the players. There is nobody on that Brooklyn Nets squad that can stop Giannis. He made an absolute... It was almost sad to see a shell of the Blake Griffin that we know. Because he toyed around with Blake Griffin. Blake Griffin couldn't touch him. There's nothing you could do in the paint or anywhere around that restricted area to Giannis. He is not going to be a part of any brick wall that stops Giannis from driving to the rim. That's not happening. So the Brooklyn Nets have no answer to Giannis. It's almost like most teams in the West have no answer to AD, and that kind of becomes the X factor. It's a bit like that. A. B. Drew Holiday is a lockdown defender. He's done it to Kyrie. He's done it to Steph. Steph did it back to him, but as battles go in a 7-game
series,
series,
seen it. He's done it to Devin Booker as well. So looking at some of the stats, he held Kyrie to 8 of 21 from shooting in the first game. He held Devin Booker earlier in the season to 9 of 24, and Steph, like you sent me a while ago, 2 of 8 from deep, and 3 of the best shooters in the league. And Drew Holiday has held them all to very below average scores.
Correct, but I'm saying in a game of 7 or a best of 7 series, you'll have games that go both ways. But Drew Holiday is as good a chance as you've got of putting a lock on either Kyrie Irving or James Harden. But the problem is there's 2 of them. Whichever one Drew Holiday is guarding, who's guarding the other? And if you're going to commit another great defender, who's guarding Giannis? Now, who's guarding KD? Giannis can do a mighty fine job on KD in the paint. I think Giannis can be that's a very intriguing matchup, and one that, dare I say, Giannis would win if it's just a paint versus paint battle. Both ends of the court, I'd fancy Giannis to come out on top. But KD's got the dribbling skills of a guard. He's got the pull-up jump shot of some of the best guards ever. He's deadly from 3. Giannis is not guarding all of those spots on the court. So then they'll have to rotate people on KD. Who the hell is going to guard KD? Giannis is their best chance, and he has no chance at the perimeter. That's their biggest problem. So the thing is, Brooklyn Nets, when they've got all their players on the court, all their superstars fit, I love the Bucks and how they're set up on defense. Everyone contributes. Drew Holiday is one of the best in the league today. Giannis is right up there. I thought the Tucker addition is great because it gives them yet another tenacious defender. DiVincenzo is underrated as a defender.
He's amazing. He's like this mini Marcus Smart who's always hustling to just trouble and irritate those guards.
Yeah, but and yet the Nets have just too many players that can. They don't even need all of them. All three superstars need no help. They can just put the ball on the floor, create a shot, and score out of nothing. And they're all above average passers, like above average to well and truly elite, from KD to James Harden. That's the problem. I don't see the Bucks overcoming that. But I'll tell you what. Let's look at the question another way. What does it take for the Bucks to beat the Nets? Well, Giannis has to go off. He can't have another playoff series where brick walls stop him. And Brooklyn don't have really the kind of personnel you need to put up a brick wall. He's going to power through Blake Griffin. If they foul him, he should continue to make these free throws that he's made recently. DeAndre Jordan's not stopping Giannis either. So that's key. That's number one. Two, Middleton's got to stop choking. He's got to start taking over spells in the game and putting points on the board. He did that really well in the last two games and in general this season, but playoffs is a whole different ball game. The Nets don't have the defense. So, this is probably Middleton's best chance to rise and shine. And then there's Drew Holiday. More is going to be asked of him than pretty much anyone else because he has to guard some of the most elite players on the planet and then go get 20-something at the other end and give them
4 times.
Yeah, and give them like 5 to 7 assists, right? So there's going to be a lot asked of Drew Holiday. But I think the weak link, it'll all boil down to what can Middleton do. I expect Giannis to shine both ends. I expect Drew Holiday to shine both ends. Drew Holiday has proven Giannis still, it's kind of the jury's still out on Giannis. Drew Holiday has proven in the playoffs. What can Middleton do? It's all going to boil down to that because Nets have 3 scorers who will light it up. Each of them can get 30 plus on any given night. How many of those nights can Chris Middleton give them? That's key. The other part, and where my confidence goes up a little with the Bucks, is in those Brooklyn Nets games. What Giannis did a bunch of stuff that was, and all of them were impressive. One, the free throw shooting. That's encouraging, but it's still a short burst. Don't know if that will last. The 3 shooting, I think the league just has to stop daring Giannis to take 3s because the more they do it, the more he's going to knock them down. And once he develops that, it's over. Shut the league down. But what was most interesting for me was the number of ways in which he was scoring in the paint and in and around the restricted area. All of these back to the basket, low post moves, the hook shots, the floaters, these are not moves that he went to very often because he's just used to steamrolling his way. But now he's finishing with finesse around the rim. That's new. That wasn't there that much. Like he could always do it, but he didn't go to that bag of tricks very often. That's going to be very key because when those brick walls come and when they crowd the paint, all of these little tricks and weapons, that's what's going to get him easy buckets. And he doesn't expend too much energy doing it. And he'll need that when he's down there defending at the other end. So for me, it's Middleton. This series will be made or broken by Middleton. Every other player in the equation, we know what we're going to get in the playoffs. The big 3 from Brooklyn, Drew Holiday is going to step up. Giannis is going to step up. Everyone fit. Chris Middleton is the guy that will decide the series, sadly enough.
That'll be an interesting matchup if it happens. I hope they meet in the second round and not in the finals because if you're meeting Philadelphia in the second round and then you're meeting the Brooklyn Nets in the finals, then I think the Brooklyn Nets are easily going to run through a fatigued Milwaukee Bucks. But if it's a second round matchup, I really have my hopes up for the Milwaukee Bucks this year. I think I really, really strongly feel that they can take on the Brooklyn Nets and cause what would be called an upset. But we'll see how that goes. Lots more to play for in the upcoming week that will actually decide the standings. It's no point predicting the standings right now because it's all a mess up there. Milwaukee Bucks is just 3 games behind Philadelphia for the top spot. So that could all change in a week. Never know who would end up where, right? And I really hope that they meet the Brooklyn Nets in the second round rather than the final. But all said and done, it's going to be an interesting week. It's going to be an interesting playoffs. Can't wait. But that's all on the Milwaukee Bucks today. We got our picks split, I would say. I am banking the Milwaukee Bucks to run over the Brooklyn. Not run over. It'll go close. It'll go 6 or 7. But take on the Brooklyn Nets. Give them a good fight. But I guess you're picking the Brooklyn Nets.
Yep, I guess so.
All right. We'll see how that goes. But that's all for today. And I will catch you tomorrow.
Peace.